And I just want to say hello and welcome everybody to the IEA monthly webinar. We are thrilled to have Melissa from Palm Beaches and Checkmark Collections giving the presentation today. And before I formally introduce Melissa, well, I should introduce myself. My name is Lisa Jordan. I know most of you. I'm the managing director of the IEA, and I'm also the executive director in Charlotte at the Executives Association of Charlotte. And first, I would like to introduce and welcome Patricia Tate and Alan Robertson of the Vancouver Executives Association. Hopefully, you've all seen the emails and the flyers and the newsletters and all the promotional materials that have gone out about the IEA Business Summit coming up here in just a very quick 2 months in Vancouver. And Alan and Patricia are just going to speak really briefly about that. And if you have any questions for them, you can put it in the chat, or we'll have Patricia put her contact information in the chat so we can follow up that way. So take it away, Patricia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. And hello, everyone. I see we have a group of 18 people here. So most of you probably heard about this year's conference already. So I'm Patricia Tate, and I'm the Executive Director for the Vancouver Executives Association, and also the IEA Conference Summit Chair for the 2022 conference in Vancouver that we're pleased to host. So we're here today just to take a couple of minutes to highlight some of our new program changes from the very beginning of the start of planning of the conference. And I'm here with my colleague, Alan, partner in crime in the planning process, who will just talk you through a couple of slides. And in the meantime, if there's any questions, I will put my contact information in the chat. And please feel free, everyone, to reach out to me if you have any questions about any of the details afterwards. Take it away, Alan.
Hey, everyone. Let me just share a screen here. It's that one there. Right. So this is the website for the conference. Patricia will put a link to it in the chat so you can get to it yourself. So we have reimagined the IEA conference this year, and it's developed for business owners as much as, well, more so than it's less about how to run an association and more about how to run a business and how to make your business efficient and growing. And so we're hoping that board members of IEA chapters still come, but we have a lot of signups from people who are members of associations that can take advantage of this. I'm going to give you a bit of highlights. There's a video here you can watch, which covers a lot of what I'm going to say. The speakers, there's four keynote speakers. We've got Benjamin Tall, who's he's from Canada, but he's an expert in global markets, so he's going to give an economic outlook. He's a very interesting, compelling, and humorous speaker that central banks call when they're wondering what's going on in the economy. So he's an incredible expert, but he's got the ability to speak not over our heads, but in practical ways. Wes Wu is the managing director of Accenture. So he'll be speaking to us basically about the implications of being in this fourth industrial revolution that we are in, and we'll be explaining the new ways of business that are kind of happening all around us, but he's just going to bring kind of awareness to a lot of what those key differences are and how we need to be aware of them in our businesses. Angèle Beausoleil she's a professor, but she's spent more of her career running businesses as an entrepreneur. but she's now she's an academic now, doing research in innovation, and her specialty is in business design. And she's, as a consultant, works with Google and Starbucks and McDonald's and a lot of big companies. And Google, for example, sends whole management teams to take her courses just in how to design businesses better. So she's an amazing speaker. Frank Palmer will be giving us. He's been in marketing quite a while. He's behind some of the Super Bowl commercials that have been on TV. Broad experience in marketing, and he will be highlighting some inspirational new trends that are happening in marketing. Now, all of this is going to be brought together and kind of coordinated by a team from Results. Results is a business management company, and their team will be weaving together all the content from the other keynotes and bringing it into practical, implementable tools that you can take home. So that's this is three significant people on their team. They have a team of about 25 people, and they work with businesses, medium-sized businesses, and it's a real privilege to be able to benefit from their input without hiring them, which obviously one can do, but to get the advantage of that without doing that, that's we're very excited about that. We'll be staying at the
Helen froze on us.
Okay, well,
We're staying at the JW Marriott.
That's
beautiful.
right. One of the newest hotels in Vancouver. Well, now, a good 3-4 years old, but very centrally located, accessible, very easily from all public transfer, very close to the water. He's scrolling there. He's back. He's unfrozen. There we go.
Hi. So sorry about that. Here's the schedule. It starts on a Wednesday afternoon. And so then Thursday, you can see keynotes, followed by interactive sessions from Results. And that's happening throughout these periods. Interspersed in here early mornings, and on the first day, Wednesday, there'll be some breakout sessions for directors of executive directors of IEA associations. And there's also woven into this the IEA regional and annual general meeting. So that's an overview, and there'll be a gala dinner. It's 100.
Oh, I think Vancouver celebrating their 100th anniversary was in 2020. So it's now the 102 anniversary, but there's an amazing gala dinner, dueling piano bars, delicious menu,
yes. And
optional.
That's right. So we hope that you can join us for that as well as for the conference. And one of the things, just to wrap it up, really, I'd like to just encourage you all to go to the website, give it a read, and look at the schedule and the activities that are planned around it. The gala dinner will be super fun, but also for the Thursday night, we have a dinner cruise planned, all around our Cole Harbor and English Bay area for about 3 hours out on a big boat with, just our group together enjoying like the skylines of Vancouver. So that's going to be another really neat highlight. And yeah, again, just check out the website, reach out to me if you have any questions, or I've heard from a couple of people that they had problems booking a hotel for a certain day, and we're currently working with the hotel on fixing that. So just stay tuned for an update about that. And if you do have problems, if you're one of these people who are having trouble, please let me know and we'll get that fixed for you.
Awesome.
And that's all we got. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll hope to see you in Vancouver.
Thanks, Patricia and Alan. We can't wait. I'm looking forward to the trip myself. Okay, we're going to jump over to Melissa, and I'm going to quickly introduce Melissa Nash, because I know who you're here to hear today. Melissa Nash is president and CEO and founder of Checkmark Collections based in West Palm Beach, Florida. It looks like Checkmark Collections was born out of recognizing the strong need of many industries in today's challenging economy for proactive approaches to receivables. Melissa is recognized as an industry expert. She brings to Checkmark Collections in-depth knowledge and over 20 years of business management experience. Melissa was featured in Inc. magazine's 11 top businesses you can start in your pajamas, and recognized as a woman of worth in 2020 by the Chamber of Commerce in Central Palm Beaches. Melissa is an author twice over now, How to Get Paid on Time Every Time, which was highlighted in Entrepreneur magazine, and the newly released The Art of Getting Paid. Melissa has been a featured presenter and speaker with multiple organizations, including the IEA, of course, National Association of Women Business Owners, and Palm Beach County Bar Association and Southeast Builders Conference. So without further ado, I give you Melissa.
Hello, everybody. So I'm going to get to try to screen share with you real quick. Let me see. Let's see. Did you guys get it?
Yes, we're in.
Yay. Well, hi, my name is Melissa Nash, and I'm just so thrilled to be here with IEA again today. This is my second time presenting on a webinar, and I had the huge pleasure of going to Ottawa back in, I think it was 2011, 2012, and speaking at the international conference there. So, you know, I love my execs and have had a great opportunity working with a lot of different ones across the country for different reasons and reaching out to them. So hello to everybody. And then a little special shout out to Melissa with the architectural firm that's on here, because I started my career, and a lot of the stuff that I'm going to refer to comes from my time of being at that architectural firm. So Melissa, maybe after this, if you want to reach out to me, I'd love to collaborate with you. So thank you so much, Lisa, for the introduction, a little bit about me, so you can kind of see. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we're going to cover today in our practices. If you have any questions, just try to get Lisa's attention, and we'll try to answer questions as we go. But I've also saved time for Q&A at the end, so we can try to have some interactive conversation. Some of what you may want to have an answer to I may be intentionally withholding that for a little later in the presentation. So we'll try to get to that. The biggest thing that I like to tell a business when I talk to them is how never to hire me as a collection agency. If you're talking to me because you have a collection issue, so many times we come into a place of business and, you know, they're showing me their case, and they're showing me, you know, that they haven't been paid, and they're talking to me about their pain as a business owner and what they're going through. And I've actually asked a client one time, how many active customers do you have? And let's say that they say, well, I have 100. And I go, well, you have 100 problems. You're just fortunate that 99 of them are paying you. So a lot of what we're going to go through today are things that I would like for you to take a look at in your business. And, you know, I always have to premise that I'm not an attorney. I am not giving you legal advice. That, you know, these things are counsel, they're consulting, they're suggestions, they're ideas. And when it's time to get into the fine print of a lot of what you need to do, your industry or your region, your state, maybe state specific for some laws. So I'm going to give you some really good generalities. And most of what I'm going to refer to is going to be based on Florida law, which I know very well. But there's a good possibility that what works for us here may work for you in your state and what you do. So we're going to go through credit policies. We're going to talk about how important it is that you set up credit policies in your office and the different things that you need to do, as well as that fine print. One of my early trademarks was ROI. So I can't wait to get into that with you and give you a really good understanding of that. And then just how to evolve, get into some of those pitfalls and some of the different things that happen as we go through collections. So I'm looking at two screens as I scroll this. So you guys bear with me when you get a side profile from me for a little bit. So let's talk about the key thing is always be proactive. So just maybe a quick show of hands or something like that. You know, listen, 7 habits of highly effective people. You know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, my office hears all the time. You know, we just have to, you know, we have to begin with the end in mind. You know, we have to be proactive. We have to sharpen the saw. There's the different things that we need to do. And a lot of what you do for accounts receivables and the art of getting paid is all about what you do on the front end. It's not about the work or the service that you perform. So it doesn't matter if you're an architect, it doesn't matter if you're an attorney, it doesn't matter, you know, if you provide widgets to somebody, it matters on how you set up your business before you did your actual business. So I want to make sure that you're being very proactive in coming up with your business, that you're looking at your industry standards, you're setting good policies for what you have to do, you're measuring your cost of automation versus your cost of doing business. So I recently attended a seminar and there was a big focus on cash flow. And he said that, you know, he walks into many businesses. He was a CPA, managed a big CPA company, did a lot of bookkeeping and different things. And he said that the budget for any given business should be anywhere from 0.5% to 3% just for accounting. Now that's all the way up to the CPA, CFO level that a business may invest. But in some businesses, especially if you have a high volume of transactions, you may have a very large, very extensive credit policies. So make sure you're really, when you're writing these policies, that you're doing it based upon the guidelines of who you are and you're setting up those automations in your business. So we're going to talk about some of that a little further. Following the fine print. How many times do we have a 2-page agreement and we run to a copy machine, we throw the agreement on, we filled in the 3 pieces of information that we need, the person that we're going to hire, how much money we're going to charge them for what we're going to do. We never photocopy the back of it. That deal goes bad. All of the terms and conditions that never got printed on the back of that piece of paper, they just don't apply. So when that file comes into our office and we're looking at that file and we're going through it, I can help you with the front piece, but those terms and conditions that are on the back, I just can't get you interest. I can't add on fees. I can't add on attorney's fees. I can't say, Your Honor, this was due in this many days, because those things weren't there. So not following the fine print is important, but we're going to get into some of your processes and procedures. We're going to talk about verifying the data and how important it is. And the other thing to think about when you're setting up your business is, do you have a seasonal component? If you're in the hospitality industry, do you have to think about your waves that are coming in? If you're in farming communities, if you're in widgets or different things like that, you know, there might be ideas that you need to plan your business and your cash flow around the seasonality of what you have to do. And then you're going to establish your terms of sale. So as we get into some of this, we're going to get into a little further detail. When we talk about the fine print, I really want to drive down into a couple things. Number one is, how many of us have signed a personal guarantee? I know I have. And I always ask the question, you know, how many of us have done it? And some people are like, I will never sign one. I will never sign a personal guarantee. I'm never going to do it. And I understand all of the arguments for it. I understand all of the arguments for both sides. But when I'm doing business with somebody and I'm asking them for a personal guarantee for the product or the service or the widget which we're going to provide for them, and my client says to me, I'm not going to sign this, I sit and I'm thinking about it. So when you're brand new with somebody, you've never done business with them before, you're just starting the beginning of your relationship, you're just starting to date, you're just starting to get to know one another, and that person is telling you that I don't believe in myself enough to sign a personal guarantee. Let that sink in for a minute. I don't believe in my honor enough that I'm willing to sign a personal guarantee. Now, I'm not telling you not to do business with that company, and I'm not telling you not to do business with that company or that person. But you need to think about the person who doesn't want to sign your agreement, the person who wants to argue the terms of which you want to do business. And you need to think about, is this really somebody that you want to do business with? Did you build in enough profit margin for this person? Did you build in enough other things? So think about getting those personal and those company guarantees. The next subject that I really want to talk about and try to drill down, and if somebody wants to open up and ask me some questions, I would love to have you do that, but it's capturing pass-through consent. And one of the things that we're finding is, how many of us we used to all have home phones and we used to have cell phones. Now, for the most part, we only have cell phones. And then the other issue is that we love email. We love giving away our email, and we love texting. The world of automation and the world of communication is there. But what happens is, a client has a portfolio of accounts and they come to an office like ours and they say, hey, we're going to give you an average of 50 to 100 accounts a month. Every month, we're going to give these accounts to you. They go into default for whatever reason, and I need you to go collect our money. If our client is not capturing pass-through consent, then I don't have the right to call that cell phone, and I may not have the right to email, and I may not have the right to text. So if you want to improve your availability to collect the most that you can and to give someone like me, including your office, the most tools that you have possible, that's one of the things to really have in your fine print. And if you ever needed, a company like mine's going to have it. So it's really important with a lot of the litigation that's going on out there. And a lot of it started because of the car warranty phone calls, right? We all got the calls, in the middle of the night, or in the middle of our workday. Hi, I want to talk to you about your auto warranty. Banking details. Banking details are critical because you want to know if somebody's got a high volume of bounce checks. You want to know where they bank. You want to know what they have going on. And there are ways for you to do credit references with their banks and to just make sure that they're a good company and that they're processing their accounts receivables properly. And that falls right into line with checking their references. Typically, when somebody's filling out an application for you with their references and they're giving you that information, they're not going to give you somebody who's going to give them a bad reference. But I want you to save this because we're going to come back to references a little later in the following. The terms and conditions, your attorney's fees, your fine print. There are a lot of things that you're going to put in your fine print that are specifically related to your industry. It may talk about the services that you perform, what your liabilities are. There's going to be a lot of fine print that's going to be very specific to your industry, but please make sure that you take a look at these things as well and incorporate them into your fine print, because these are things that are going to help someone like me if I have to come in later and do some collection agency work with you. All right, so now we have to really get in and drill in and know your business. So I mentioned earlier that Melissa was with an architectural firm. So that's one of the lines of business that I know very well. And in sticking with that, of talking about that, so I like to say an architect, an attorney, a CPA, anybody who's in the product of selling their time, they're selling their time in exchange for consulting fees, different things like that. So kind of understand your industry baseline. If you're looking at an industry baseline that says, in construction here in Florida, we have a lot of PWP, pay when paid. A lot of times you're like, okay, I'll give you 30 days. And does anybody know where the 30 days came from? Anybody want to jump into where the 30 days came from? Nobody knows where the 30 days came from. And what you're going to hear me say later, and the thing is, well, everybody does it. Well, just because everybody does it doesn't mean that we need to do it, right? So we're going to make sure that when you're going through your sale, make sure that you're clearly defining the terms of your sale. I expect X amount upfront. I expect X amount at this period of time. I expect this amount of delivery of it. If you're not serious enough to ask about payment, and if you're not serious enough to say to your client that you really care about being paid, and that's just as important as the product or the service that we're going to give you, then they're not going to treat that as important. The other thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the person who's signing your agreement is authorized to do business with you. We've seen that as well. We've seen some agreements, well, this person wasn't authorized to make this purchase order. This person wasn't authorized, above this to do that. And so how are we as a vendor supposed to know that? I've actually successfully argued against one of these claims. So a client came to me. It's a good story, so I'll make sure that I give you this. So a little later, we're going to talk about a form that you can do that if you have an authorized agent, who's that authorized agent? So the individual was authorized to make purchases and on site at a hotel. So it's funny because IEA Vancouver's talking about doing their conference. So somebody ordered some additional services at a conference from the hotel. The hotel was right there. They delivered the products and services, and they did exactly what the person on site asked them to do. And so the bill was packaged and it was sent to the accounting department at the company. And the accounting department looks at the purchase order and they look at what was done for the event. And they said, these items weren't authorized, we're not paying it. And so you get into an argument between the catering company at the hotel and the company that they provided the services for. And they go, we gave you this PO, we said this, it ended up in my office. And the argument was, you authorized this person to go on site and to make purchases. You said that they were an authorized person. If your person went above and beyond what they were supposed to do, managing that individual is not our responsibility. our client got paid. So I'm just trying to show you that having some of these pieces in place can help you with your argument. I use the word argument, but they can help you present your case much later as you go down the line. The decision to grant credit. You need to make sure that you're aligning inside your business, who has the decision to make the credit decisions, who's going to make the decision to say somebody gets 30 days, somebody gets 60 days. I was recently on a plane with and I don't mind saying this, and they provided auto parts to a very large national auto supply chain. And they said that they worked on basically, let me do the math in my head, 500-day terms, which was basically like a year and a half. And they deliver a product that goes on the shelf, and they're not paid for that PO for a year and a half. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, the cost of carry that you have for doing that. And he goes, well, we built it into the price that we have to do that. And I said to him, I go, you know what, I just can't believe that you can afford, to pay for a product and wait 180, wait a year and a half to get paid. And the worst part is that you'll bill a company. And this was the problem that they had why they came to us. So they would bill the company. It sits in the computer for a year and a half. Well, somebody's like, there's no urgency to this, so I'll just enter it later. So now a year and a half later, you're trying to chase down a bill to get paid. This is the time for you to get paid. This is the time for you to do it. And the paperwork's been lost. The PO's been lost. The people that did it aren't there. Nobody knows what's going on. So now they've agreed to these terms and you have to do this. And so, just those decisions just sometimes really shock me as to why someone would stay in business like that. But, having that understanding of who's going to grant the credit, who's going to allow it, and then how you're going to manage it. So make sure that you're establishing that as you go through. When you're establishing credit limits or you're looking at credit limits, make sure you're looking at it in regards to time and dollars. Another great story that I love to tell is that we were working with an auto parts store company who sold primarily to small mechanic shops. And so if you take your automobile in to get your car fixed, you're going to pay at the time that you leave with that you're going to leave with it. So the story that I was presented with, and the challenge was that the auto parts store was doing deliveries up to 4 times a day to a auto parts store. So you bring your car in the morning, the mechanic takes a look at your car, he diagnoses it, he realizes, okay, you need an alternator, calls you on the phone, you need an alternator, this is what it's going to cost. Great. Calls the auto parts company, or online now, but then it was a phone call. Call the auto part company, say, I need an alternator for this. They say, fine, we'll have it on the 10 o'clock route. The auto part, it gets delivered. Now imagine this mechanic who might have been COD previously would have to stop everything he's doing, run in the office, write a check. Okay, he's advancing the cost of the alternator, and he's waiting for you to come and pick up your car to get paid. When you come back at 5 o'clock to pick up your car and you pay him via credit card, he's technically not getting paid for 4 days. So let's hope that the mechanic has really good money, but my client was the auto part company. We took a lot of these small guys and we put them on a 1-week credit term. And we developed a whole line and process that everything that they bought from Thursday to Friday, or from Friday to Thursday, would be on credit. On Thursday night, we automated their system that they would drop statements via email. And on Friday morning, their route drivers went and picked up all of their checks. They ended up with 0 cash flow issues. And their business basically doubled because all of the mechanics bought them, because all of the mechanics loved the idea. So you can kind of get creative in your business and look at how we took a credit issue, look at how we took an accounting issue, and we turned it into a sales job. So that's a lot of the fun that I enjoy about our business. So establishing credit limits also comes in time and dollars. So make sure you're creating in some of that. Make sure they agree to all of the above. And if you can, don't forget to get your personal guarantee. All right, let's get over here. So we go to the standard terms and conditions, and we're talking about, well, gee, in my business, if I didn't give somebody 30 days terms, they would go down the street. So, it's okay that you're going to give a 30-day term. It may be okay that you give a 45-day term or a 21-day term, but just make sure that the reason why you're doing it, that you're just not saying that's because everybody else does it. Do you need to capture a date of birth? Do you need to capture a social security number? And please make sure you're getting that pass-through consent. If you are obtaining the DOB and the SSN, make sure that you're following all of your privacy laws, make sure you're following all of your retention laws and the different things that you need to do. I'm sure that most computer systems today have so in our office, we get tokens so that it's there. Some people can see the whole thing. It's very restricted. Some people may only see the last four, and some people may see nothing, that they have to put in. So if you have that, just make sure that you're careful about doing that. In the state of Florida, we're very fortunate that we have a cost of collection provision. So if the two parties agree and we have a signed agreement, and let's say that Lisa hires me to write credit policies for her, and she says, Melissa, I want to hire you for consulting. And I say, Lisa, listen, this is great. I'm going to charge you this. She doesn't pay me. And so I will, if I have in the signed agreement between Lisa and I, that if she doesn't pay me, she has to pay my cost of collection. Then in this, I get to add my 30% collection fee on top of what she owes me. So I, as a client, get paid in full, and Lisa is in turn paying my collection agency fee. So I would tell everybody all the time, always see if you get that gift in your state. If you get that gift, it's a great gift. And listen, there's no collection fee added if people pay their bills on time. There's nothing to put on there. I personally, as a collection agency, and you guys can kind of debate this with your lawyers later, and you can just tell them, what I said. It's an easier sell when you're going through a contract that the prevailing party pays any collection fees and or attorney's fees. And I'm against a prevailing party clause only because I always lose with them. And I'm going to tell you why I always lose with them. You ready? Because we don't litigate the file. If I don't litigate the file and we don't take the file to court and we don't go all the way to the end for a judge to say, you're awarded these fees, there's nothing for me to collect for you. You're paying my collection agency fees. So if you're going to have a prevailing party fee, exclude collections. I'm not sure of the exact language for you to do that. You could work it out with your attorneys, but just say with the exception of non-payment, the prevailing party, or however you may want to do it. But so many times clients will come to me and go, why do I have to pay you? You're supposed to be working for me for free. Why do I have to pay you? And that's because they had the prevailing party clause and there's nothing that I can add. So as a collection agency, that's not the kind of clause that I like to see in some of our agreements. Disputes settled by suit, arbitration, and or mediation. Again, I'm going to ask that you probably exclude collection agency from that. In some cases, it's extremely expensive. It's more arduous to go through those programs and those processes if it's just a collection fee. If it's just a collection issue and it's a matter of non-payment, those are great ways of settling a dispute. If the issue is the quality of the product, the quality of the service, if there's really some kind of a breach of contract or something that's there, those are great tools that are there for you. You can work with your attorney on what the best format is for you to protect your organization. But I always say the best way to handle a collection dispute is straight through your court system. It's always the fastest and the easiest for me. And that's what we prefer that's what we want to recommend for you. Validating and verifying the agreement. Again, it's very important in the state of Florida. We have a great system called SunBiz. It's very easy for me to go online and to make sure that you're licensed and you're legally allowed to conduct business in the state of Florida. It's a part of our process that we actually pull that document and add it into our system. We're verifying that the person who signed my agreement is an officer of the company or the corporation, that they are legally allowed to hire us and they're binding with us. We talk about who's authorized to execute. So if an accounting manager is authorized to send files, if somebody else is authorized to send files, you may need to think about when you're doing business, who's authorized to spend money on behalf of the company and to obligate them for expenses. And are there any guests or are there any other people who are authorized to charge on accounts? So I have employees who have, the ability to spend some dollars and they're allowed to use their discretion. They're allowed to do things. They don't have to ask me, can they spend $10 or $15? So just think about how you want to conduct your business and what specifically works for your organization, and then set those guidelines inside of your organization. But your vendor may need to know those decisions so that they can help you to stay with those things. All right, best billing practices. You ready for this? It's real simple. Oh, you lost it. Sorry, guys, hold on. This is me working with two screens. Are you there?
We got you, but your screen's blue.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it back in just a second. Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
I don't know what I did. I wasn't crazy about being on this 2 screen when I started this, and I didn't realize this was gonna happen.
It was going so well.
Yay. All right, let me get this back. Hold on real quick. Right, my office is laughing under their breath because they know that I hate technological issues. They're like, oh my God, they're like, because when technology does not work, I'm like, it's supposed to always work.
You want to reshare?
We got your back.
Yeah, I know you do, but I can't even, PowerPoint's not opening for me. So the issue isn't the sharing right now.
Oh,
Um,
I was going to say you can send it to me and I can share. But no, yeah, no worries. This happens.
So I'm going to keep talking a little bit while I'm doing this. And so the place that I was at about billing practices, and that is that every office is going to have its set standard for billing practices. Every office is going to have their way of what they need to do inside of their office. For us, our billing is typically on the 1st and the 15th of the month. We have 2 different things that we do. And the story that I love to share one time is as a business owner came to me and he goes, Melissa, he goes, this is terrible. I don't know what to do. I need your help. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here. What can I do for you? And he said, just the cash flow in my office is terrible. I can't get paid. I don't know what to do. And I said, you know what? I'm here for you. Let me get into your business. And I went and I went in his office, and I'm about to screen share again. So hang on just a second.
Okay, perfect.
So I went into his office and, all right, are you guys seeing this?
Yep,
Now.
you're back.
Okay. So I went to his office and we're going through his system. And what had happened was, this is construction. So I'm just going to try to give you a little background on the company. This was a construction company who did track home building. And he was one of the last vendors prior to a home being sold to the end user and somebody getting access to their new home. And so he's in the home like the last 10 days of work that's being done before the home is being titled and sold to the person. So in Florida, we have construction laws. And so we have notice to owners, we have lien rights, we have different things like this. I'm just trying to tell you the severity of what happened in this case. So his office was doing notice to owner saying, hey, I'm the last guy that's on the job. I'm the last guy that's going to be there. I'm one of the last people that's going to work for you. I'm going to establish my lien rights. I'm going to make sure you know that I'm coming. 10 days later, the house would have a CO. Probably by but anywhere between day 11 and 15, the house was being sold to the new owner. 90 days after his date of service, up to that point, he has the right to file a claim of lien. He was filing his claim of lien. What his billing manager wasn't telling him was she wasn't getting the bills out the door. So the construction company wasn't even getting the bills to pay. They're leaning properties against homeowners. And he just had this huge mess. And once we dove into it, so the person would go out to the home, they would do the service, they would come back. He was doing everything like 3-4 times the piece of paper was moving from desk to desk to desk, and everybody was doing 2 clicks, but nothing was getting completed. And invoices, if they were going out the door, were going out the door 45, 60 days after the date that they were dated. So when it went out the door, it was already 60 days old. It's hitting the desk of an accounting person where the home has already been closed and the file's already been closed, and there's nothing to pay because she has nothing to put it in against. That's how late he was in sending his bills. And this whole debacle was created, and he had over $1 million on the street. And the ultimate breakdown was his billing practices. The ultimate cause of him not getting paid was that he was broken down between the service driver getting it into his office and then the bill getting out the door. And that was a huge, massive cleanup that we had to do for his company. So I don't have a lot of details in here in regard to setting up a best billing practice for your individual business, but whatever your individual business is, make sure that you know, because your non-payment issue could really be a billing issue. So you want to make sure that you're kind of drilling down into some of those practices and that you have them there and that you're monitoring it. A big part of the art of getting paid, and going back to talking about cash flow, and I have a handout here for everybody. So Lisa, I'm going to send you this. Is 10 steps to improve your cash flow. And I try to say that it's like Cliff Notes. If you're like me, it's fast, get to the point. You can't bog me down in details, and I just get lost in all the mundane. That's why my book takes about 1 hour to read if you guys are interested in that. But when we talk about, maintaining your cash flow, you also have to think about your operating expenses. You have to think about, your inventory that you have on the shelves. You have to think about the other things that are there. So make sure that when you're thinking about your cash flow, it's not just about your money going out, but money that you have coming in and money that you just may have sitting. So make sure you're kind of tracking a lot of that into your business as well, because we've seen that affect a lot of businesses and what they need to do. So my office hears me talk about this all the time. I actually borrowed this from another exec member, and I took a photograph of it, and I just hear it all the time in what we do in our businesses. And so what I want to say is, when I'm working with receivables and I'm working with clients, or I'm working with their clients, and the different thing that's there, and he's like, get out of bed. It was Arif. His words were, get out of bed. There's no more blame. There's no more excuses, and there's no more denial. And so when we talk about receivables and we want to talk about blame, excuses, and denial, blame, I didn't get it. It's the mailman's fault. It didn't happen. It's the billing manager's fault. It didn't get there. Or, your paperwork is sitting on somebody else's desk. That just didn't happen. Excuses, you're not getting paid because it's not approved. You're not getting paid because, I didn't get verification that this happened. You're not getting paid because I don't think your percent complete is as far, those different things. And then denial, just flat out, you're just not getting paid. So you want to make sure that you have no blame, excuses, or denial into your accounts receivables as we go through it. So my favorite thing, and I'm going to give you the answer, and then I'm going to give you a good overview of what ROI really means. In most cases, everybody says it's return on investment. What's my return on investment? But in the accounts receivable world, it really means receipt of invoice. And so let me tell you what I'm talking about. I believe that the first collection phone call should happen at about day number 7. Yes, you heard me say the first collection phone call should happen at about day number 7. That is about the most proactive you can be. I've had some industries say, Melissa, I don't want to call before day 14. I don't want to call before day number 21. But when we're setting up some of these programs for our companies, 7 is my first day. And especially now with email. Now, remember when this was originally written, we were physically printing and mailing and sending them through snail mail. Now with email, it's instant. And if somebody uses something like bill.com, like I use bill.com, and there's all of these electronic programs for getting everybody paid, you just shoot an email over to this account. It loads right into my system, and my system says, Melissa, do you want to approve this bill? You pay this company every month. Do you want to approve it? I just touch a button and it says approved, and it sits there and it just says, yep, pay this bill when it's 30 days old. And literally I have 2 clicks and my bills are paid like that. So when I say that you want to make a peer-to-peer call, if you really think that you have an issue and you need to chase money, this is a bookkeeper to a bookkeeper telephone call. This isn't agency owner to agency owner. This is an attorney to client. This is not architect to GC person that's there. It is literally bookkeeper to bookkeeper. Hey, it's Melissa. I'm calling on behalf of computer company. How are you today? Did you get our invoice? Is it approved? And is it in line for payment? Because if that invoice is not approved and in line for payment on day 7, the possibility is it may not be approved and in line for payment. If there's an issue, you'd want to know about it sooner than later. If there's a second person to approve it, if it's got to go through a type of an approval process, you always want to track that through. So I was telling Melissa early on in the line how these programs got started is we were doing large construction projects, and we had to do, sometimes it was an AIA pay application, sometimes it's a work in progress, sometimes it's an hourly, and we had these bills that are all over the place. Well, if I didn't get my bill in time and it didn't make it onto the bank app on time, and the bank didn't get it by the time that they needed it, then I wouldn't have my check back at the appropriate time. So I started calling days after they got my invoice because I needed to make sure they got it. I needed to make sure they got it there. The other thing where I talk about really know the baseline of your industry is if you're in the construction industry, you have pay when paid. And so I say you always need to know your customer's customer, because that's the person you're ultimately working for if you're on a paid with paid client. So peer-to-peer call, I always suggest the first day should be on or around day 7. I'm watching the time, so I'm going to move through here a little bit quicker so we can get through some of these scenarios a little bit. Why do we stick our head in the sand? Why do we have call reluctance? Well, I have to tell you, it makes me pretty happy because it's why I have a job. So the fact that you hate picking up the phone, and the fact that you hate making collection telephone calls, and the fact that you can't ask for money, it's perfectly okay with me. You can just reach out to me or someone like me. We're happy to do it for you. But you have to make sure that that's included into your company program. And then if you're having it done, even if you have it outsourced to what you need to do. So where's your oar? Do you want to be dead in the water, or do you need to take your oar and you put it in the water? Oar stands for ownership, accountability, and responsibility. So when it comes to having your accounting department, you really want to make sure that you have your oar in the water, and that somebody's taking ownership of your receivables, somebody's taking ownership of what needs to be done. You have accountability written into it, and somebody's responsible to make sure that the tasks that are happening, because if you're proactive with what you need to do, typically you can mitigate the majority of your collection agency needs. And remember, the goal here is that you never hire me as a collection agency. So one of the things that I like to stress more than anything else is that the most important person in your business is the least paid person in your client's business. I'm going to say that again. The most important person in your business can be the least paid person in your client's business. If you can't get through the receptionist to get to the person who pays the bill, you're never going to get to the person who pays the bill. If you can't get to the AP clerk, whose responsibility is to take your invoice, she's not authorized to approve it, she's not authorized to do anything. All she can do is keystroke the way her company has taught her to keystroke and do the things. And I say she, it could be a he, the way that person is designed to do. If you're yelling at that person, they have zero motivation to put in your paperwork. Please be careful who you think has all the power, because that person has all the power to put your thing in the garbage and say, I never got it. Okay, so think about that. All right, so I always buy treats for my accounts payable people. I always have my clients make sure that they're BFFs with the lowest person on the totem pole. We want to take that person wine at Christmas. We want to take that person money, because they're the ones that are pushing your checks through. On the flip side, that person can become your advocate. So if there's a stack of, and I keep referring back to years ago on Fridays, they'd walk in with stacks of checks and they'd put them on the boss's desk, and all the backup was there, and he's reviewing everything and he's looking at it. Well, that person decided whether or not you went in the stack that week. In most cases, that person decided whether or not you went in the stack. And the boss is signing the checks. He'd pick that check and he would sit it aside. And I said, yeah, we're not going to pay them that week. I've seen that person become your advocate and go, no, I told them they were getting paid. I told them that this was going to happen, and nobody wants to be a liar, and they will come to your rescue. So I'm telling you, make sure that you take care of the lowest person on the totem pole. I have some great stories about some of that. Another story I'm going to just tell you really quickly: intellect over emotion. I had a client who planted some trees. The trees died, or they looked like they were dead. He said, no, they're just in shock. They're going to come back alive. I didn't want to pay the bill. The trees aren't dead. I'm not going to pay the bill. The trees aren't dead. So He was not getting paid a $30,000 bill because he didn't want to replant $600 worth of trees. I said, listen, she's not going to pay the bill. She thinks the trees are dead. I don't care that you're right. You can wait 6 months to prove that you're right and let the trees reblossom, or you can plant 3 new trees and get paid. What would you like to do? Right? So make sure that intellect has to be put over emotion. So a lot of cases, if you're emotional on a case, just try to step away and just think about what you need to do. I say, that pause is always a great thing to do. Let bad clients go. Listen, if you've got a bad client, you need to look up the name and number of your nearest competitor, and you need to say, hey, this is a great company. You should go work with them. And you send them to your biggest competitor. They're going to drive down their margins. They're going to drive them crazy. They're going to just not pay them. If you got a bad client, let them go. You do not want to keep them on your accounts receivables. There's nothing better than letting go. And listen, I have fired a few clients, and it's very liberating to say, just get out of here. We're not gonna deal with you. I use this being funny because in the collection agency world, the federal government thinks that the only safe way for us to dial a consumer is with a rotary phone. Let me say that again. The federal government would prefer if the only way we dialed a consumer was with a rotary phone. Yes, that's true. So I kind of joke about this. But on the flip side, what I want to tell you is this is actually step number 10, and that communication is your biggest tool. Make sure if anything you do that you communicate and that you have that and you're going. You want to close the gap, make sure you know your industry specific remedies. If there's anything specific that you're allowed to do in your industry, you want to make sure that you're getting all of those perks and balances that work for you. Watch the trends. Just today, they came out and they said that delinquency mortgage rates went up 9 bips. They're showing that NSFs are up across the board, across the United States. So people are bouncing checks and they're not making their mortgage payments. That's the beginning to watch some industry trends. That's consumers. That's Main Street America. That's hitting right where it's going to hit. These gas prices are affecting everybody. The cost of living is affecting everybody. Inflation is affecting them. And if they're bouncing checks and not making their mortgage, I promise you, you're next. So you really need to make sure that you're really tight on your business, that you have it there. I talk about knowing your customer's customer. You want to make sure that if you're in that PWP, you want to make sure that you know your client's business, what's happening in their business. You don't want to extend them credit. You don't want to give them a greater credit line. If you need to reel them in because they're in a tight line, make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on there, because you need to be prepared to make the right decisions for you as you go through. I talked earlier about the credit application. This is when you pull out those old credit applications and you call those 3 references again. Hey, I'm just calling to check on ABC Sign Company. How are they doing? Oh my God, I'm suing them. What? No. Or nope, they're perfect customers. We love doing business with them. They're still some of our favorites, blah, blah, blah. It gives you a guideline. It gives you a person to talk to. It gives you a real frame of reference, and it'll let you know if you think the company's in trouble. So don't forget to recheck those credit references if you think something's going on, and always manage who didn't sign the personal guarantee. If somebody didn't sign the personal guarantee, you need to make sure when these things are happening in the economy that you're just keeping them tight and you're watching what's going on with them so you're not overextended. The art of getting paid is really about being proactive. It's not about being reactive. It's about making sure that you've got those great contracts, you're getting those fine prints, you're doing all those things you need to do. And if you do everything right, I've done everything right. I've met with my attorneys. All of our I's are dotted. Our processes are tight. We've done everything we need to do. Unfortunately, that's when you may need to reach out to someone like me in your company. You may have an agency that's industry specific who really knows your industry. You may need to go straight to legal and go seek your counsel in what you want to do. But just know that these are 2 very good tools for you that could be there for you to kind of consider and for you to think about. Another quick story that I love to tell you, as a kid, they tell you all the time that you can't dine and dash, you can't dine and dash, you can't dine and dash. Well, the phrase under dining and dashing is actually called defrauding an innkeeper. So when I talk about know your industry, know what your rights are, know what you can and can't do, I have to tell you that this is public record that I'm showing you here. But this gentleman decided to go on vacation in South Florida, had a $13,000 hotel bill, spa bill, dinner bill, wine bill, all of those beautiful things at one of our ocean resorts. And so when he didn't pay that bill, ultimately he got another 6-month vacation in our county jail. Okay. So this is what we do for our clients. I didn't get paid a dime for this file because my client didn't recover any actual money. We did try, but it didn't serve my client for him to have to do 6 months. But what it said to the industry and what it said to everybody else is we're going to follow these paths and we're going to do what we need to do. Talk about industry specific things. If you're able to get a judgment and if you're able to go through those processes, we did get a levy one time for a person who was on the news and was wearing about a 4-carat, what appeared to be a 4-carat diamond ring. So we took a screenshot from the news, sent it to the judge and said, Your Honor, I would like this ring. And we've also, as an asset, people go, I'm broke, I don't have any money. I'm broke, I don't have any money. Well, listen, they may be broke and they may not have any money, but they may have a jet ski, they may have an RV, they may have guns, they may have a golf cart, golf clubs. You know, listen, I'll take all of those things and sell them for $50 and get money for my client. But the other great story that we have in our office, we took a wine locker from Morton. So, you know, when you talk about going after assets and somebody's broke and somebody doesn't have any money, I see Lisa laughing because you're the face that I can see here. You know, there are things that you can do. You just have to make sure that everything you do has to be followed within the lines of the law. So my specialty is kind of finding the assets. The attorneys have to do the paperwork to go get them. And I love chatting. Claudia's probably laughing in the background because I love chatting. No, we can go get this. Let's go get this. Let's figure this out. And so we have a lot of fun here in our office, but you know, our job is to get our client paid. And so we try to get that done. So listen, I want to say, I hope that you've enjoyed some of my stories today. I hope you've enjoyed some of the analogies and some of the ways that we've had the opportunity to help agency owners and business owners like yourself. You know, I see the tough times coming, and how I started in business was my friends weren't getting paid and they said, Melissa, I can't get paid and I don't know what to do. Melissa, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. And so, you know, the core of my business, Accounts Receivables Incorporated, started with helping my friends, and I'd love to consider the entire IEA, all of my friends as well. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, we would love the opportunity. I can tell you that, you know, we've just recently joined Charlotte as well. Just a tiny little plug, the two Lisas, you know, so you have Lisa in Charlotte, you have Lisa IEA, but we're franchising. And so hopefully you're going to begin to see checkmark collection opportunities, hopefully coming to a neighborhood near you. And when that happens, execs is our first place that we like to go to say, hey, we're in town, we're here, we want to do business with you. So Lisa, thank you so much for having me. IEA, thank you for having me. And we probably have like 3 minutes left if you want to open it up for some questions.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Melissa. Gosh, what great information. And I mean, a little shocking, some of the information that you shared too. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Does anyone have a quick question for Melissa? Getting some comments in the chat, people just saying thank you for the information and the presentation. Don't be shy. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like. I think I was most surprised when you said your first call is at 7 days. I mean,
yeah.
Pete, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Lots of nice comments in the chat. Thank you, everybody. Also, if should mention, if there's someone you'd like to share this presentation with, maybe the accounting department in your office or your business, perhaps it will be available on the IEA website, right where you went to go register for the webinar under IEA member benefits and webinars. It's usually posted by about the end of the week. So as soon as we jump off this call, we'll get that downloaded and over to our IT desk so they can get that on the website and you can share it.
And Lisa, I'll get you the
yeah.
10 steps. I'll get these to you as well, and feel free to distribute them. And it's just a good baseline of how to follow to put into your business.
Yeah, that's perfect. I can send that to the list of all those who registered. So that'll hit everybody, even the ones who didn't make it on the call today, which is great.
Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Well, then we will say goodbye. Thank you, Melissa. Wonderful to see you. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.